I'm Anbaradi, Assistant Professor of Commerce, Dekan College for Women, Vellore. In this video, we are going to see about some basic concepts and introduction about GST Act. Before moving into the topic, we all know what is meant by taxes and what are the different types of taxes. Tax has been defined as it is a compulsory contribution made by the general public to the government. Government depend upon the tax revenue for all the developmental activities and for all the services rendered to the general public. From the point of view of an assessee, that is a taxpayer, it is considered as a burden. But from the point of view of the tax collecting authority, that is government, it is the only major source of revenue from where it plan all its developmental activities. When you analyze the budget, you can see maximum amount of revenue is collected by the government from the tax revenue. And basically there are two types of tax system, direct tax and indirect tax. Direct tax means when the impact and incidence fall on the same person, it is known as direct tax. And when the impact and incidence fall on two different persons, that is known as indirect taxes. And GST comes under indirect taxes. In this video, we are going to discuss about the framework of GST, the main features of GST law, the GST Council, and what are the benefits and limitations of GST Act. So what is meant by GST? GST stands for Goods and Services Taxes. Before implementation of GST, our Indian indirect tax system faces a major limitation, that is a tax-paying person has to pay multiple number of taxes. A trader or a manufacturer or a consumer, he is forced to pay many number of taxes to the government. So in order to overcome this limitation, GST has been introduced. And GST was introduced on 1st July of 2017, and all the products and services tax bill comes under GST. And it is a unified tax system in India under the logo One Nation and One Tax. So this slide depicts the previous condition before GST. Before implementation of GST, our indirect tax system prevails multiple taxes that were paid to central government and to state government. So you can see the taxes charged by central government were service tax, central sales tax, basic customs duty, special additional duty, CVD, countervailing duty, excise duty, and services tax. So an assessee is forced to pay so many taxes to the central government, and an assessee has to pay value added tax, octroi, purchase tax, and entry tax to the state government. So this tax on tax is known as cascading effect. In order to eliminate this cascading effect, Government of India introduces the GST law. So where you can see all the taxes were subsumed under GST. Before implementation of GST, a trader was forced to pay all these taxes separately, but after implementation of GST law, all these taxes were subsumed under one unified tax structure, and one whole tax is paid as goods and service tax. Value added tax, excise duty, purchase tax, service tax, central sales tax, luxury tax, and entry tax, all these were subsumed under GST. And this is the path or journey that GST Act process. It was started in the year 2006. The first announcement to introduce GST was done by the year 2010. Almost it took 17 hardship of years to frame this GST law, and so many councils, nearly 12 GST council meetings were held. Lot of officers, they meet regularly to amend the act, and lastly constitution has been amended and the act was passed, the bill was passed in both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and finally GST Act was introduced on 1st July of 2017. These are the basic three types of GST. CGST, which is known as Central Goods and Service Tax, which is collected by the central government. SGST, which is known as State Goods and Services Tax, which is collected by the state government. And IGST, which is known as integrated GST that were collected by the central government. So these are the different types of GST system that is prevailing in India. And this is the framework of GST. If a trader sells his goods within the state territory, within the state he is doing some transaction or he is undertaking the sales activity, in that case he has to pay the CGST and SGST. And if a trader transacts from one state to another state, if there is interstate transaction, he is compelled to pay CGST and SGST, which is known as IGST. And if a trader transacts his transaction within the union territory, he has to pay integrated GST. So these are the framework under which GST works. And the next important thing is GST Council. So GST law was framed and discussed and finalized by the GST Council, and currently the GST Council was chaired by the Honorable Finance Minister of India, and Vice Person and members of Finance under each state has the Finance Minister as its representative, and they meet regularly and they recommend various items that were related to GST law. So next we are going to see about the features of GST. So it is a single tax of supply of goods and services, starts from the manufacturer to the consumer. So various goods were covered under GST, likewise various services were covered under GST. And it is a destination based consumption tax. Previously it was origin based consumption tax. Now it has been changed as destination based consumption tax. And each stage the input tax credit will be availed. And this is one of the unique feature of GST. At every stage of a supply, the input tax credit can be availed. And it is applied to all the stages of supply chain management. When you see the supply chain management, right from the manufacturer till the end consumer, at every stages GST is charged. And the final consumer will bear the GST charge which is levied by the last dealer. And what are the goods and services that were exempted under GST means alcohol products, petroleum products were exempted, and some other goods that is outside the purview of GST. For example, agriculture goods does not come under GST, and transaction below threshold limit. If a trader transacts below the threshold limits, he need not to pay GST. So these are the important benefits of GST law. Reduction in cascading effect of tax. So already we will discuss our indirect tax system faces multiple tax points. A trader is compelled to pay so many taxes, and this is known as cascading effect, tax on tax, and GST is implemented to reduce this cascading effect. And overall reduction in prices. So because of introduction of GST, overall prices of products are reduced. And it is a common national market. It is a unified tax system that is applied to all over India. So we can call it as common national market. And it is very much beneficial to the small taxpayers. And it is a self-regulating tax system. And it is an electronic tax system. Everything has been electronically made. Everything has been computerized. So it is an electronic tax system. And simplified tax regime. So because of introduction of GST, the tax regime, the tax procedure has been simplified, and reduction of multiplicity of tax, which is known as cascading effect, and consumption based tax. Previously it was origin based, now it has been changed into consumption based. Abolition of CST, central sales tax, has been abolished because of introduction of GST, and protection of domestic industry market. So nowadays the government of India is emphasizing on Make in India concept. So GST is one among that kind. Besides so many advantages, GST Act also faces lot of criticism or lot of limitations. One among that is increased cost. A trader has to upgrade his computer system, and they have to upgrade the accounting software with GST. So the cost of implementation is very high, and penalizing on failing to file the GST audit. If a trader fails to file the GST returns, he will be penalized, and a new system. So everyone will not be computerized, very well versed with computerized. So that is one of the limitation, and it impact on the working capital of the concern. So by this, we came to know about some short introduction and some basic concepts about GST. Thank you.